Welcome back again to paperairplanes.co.uk. Today what we'll be showing you is how to make the second origami plane. There are 3 on the site currently. I'm sure at some point in this video will be out of date because I'll add more. I call these origami planes because they're made from a square sheet of paper. And typically the sort of most origami works with square sheets of paper rather than looking at rectangular paper like we often go with the plane. This is what the plane is going to look like when it's finished. A couple of tricks I want to show you in making this plane. The first one is how to get to a square piece of paper. Now, I'm sure that you guys have probably watched some of my other videos, but if you haven't, the easiest way to get to a square sheet of paper, usually, is to take a rectangular piece of paper, line up neatly on the corner, make a 45-degree angle so that the top edge is precisely lined up with the side edge. Score that along, and then use this as a guide to tear the paper and create, you know, pretty close to perfectly square most of the time piece of paper. Problem being, if you don't want to have this hard crease down the center of your piece of paper for making the plane, this isn't a great way to create a square piece of paper. So the way that I do it for this plane that really needs to avoid having this diagonal crease across is to do what I just did and create a square piece of paper that you can go on and you can use this for making the second origami plane that absolutely needs this, you know, diagonal crease across it. But then line this piece of paper up precisely over the top of the piece of paper I now want to fold, and essentially use it as something of a template for creating another square piece of paper, just like so. And so now what you have is a pretty close to square piece of paper right there that essentially isn't creased in any way so far. So that's what you start with. I like to always put the torn edge at the top for this plane because then it gets tucked away inside, doesn't affect the aerodynamics or anything. First fold for this plane is to fold it in half vertically. You line up the corners nicely, line up the edges nicely, you know, hold them down solidly here, and just, you know, squish fold this piece of paper in half like so. Okay, so you've got it perfectly folded in half. I've looked at a number of ways of doing the next step, which is a little bit challenging. And by the way, like, having a well-creased centerfold on this plane is extremely important later on because you fold up a lot of paper at the front, and then it becomes very, very hard to actually fold the plane in half when you're actually turning it into the sort of dihedral angle and the shape that you need for it to fly. So this next step, I've looked at a lot of different ways of doing it. I've tried, you know, drawing the line with a ruler and a pen. Realistically, the best way I can do this is to produce basically a slightly extraneous fold, a fold that you don't actually need, but it enables you to make sure you do this precisely correctly. So this is how I do it. There are probably other ways to do it, and other people can come up with them. So it's more of a gentle fold, this one. I didn't put much pressure on that at all, just with the sort of pad of my finger. I'm happy to sort of unfold it a little bit there. But now what you've done is you've got a guideline that shows you exactly a quarter of the way across the sheet of paper. So you first fold the paper in half to give you the halfway mark, and that will be your fuselage. But then you fold that half in half again, which gives you the line a quarter of the way across. That's necessary because we're now going to make a fold that, in order to be symmetrical, needs that guideline. So the fold starts from the center, and then the tip, this corner here, you want to touch the wing. So the center to that fourth 1/4 mark that we just figured out there, and then you fold this down gently, like so, and then you can solidify the fold. Again, people often criticize me for being a little bit aggressive about how strong my folds are. I like to make them very strong. I find it helps. For keeping the plane in place, this is what works for me. So the great thing now is, because you've made this so perfectly lined up, you've done the measurements, when you make the other fold, it's going to nicely form. So what you want is to fold this along that edge, and you can do that because when you do so, it lines up, this top bit here lines up perfectly along here. Top edge along here. Just like so. Which is awesome. And you can squish fold that down. And what also happens, if you've got this right, which we have here, is right here, the vertical, this cross, and this cross all meet at precisely that point, which is great. So once again, what I like to do at this stage is fold down along the center line again. And I'm going to be consistently doing this over and over and over again, because it does get very hard to fold along that center line at the edge. And so you want to try and make sure that you've got your perfect crease in place along that center line for when the time comes for you to form your fuselage at the end of this. Thing. Okay, awesome. Cool. So next step is to essentially put a line across here, right where that, set of 3 lines intersect, and fold it down vertically. Like so. Again, the tip for doing this here is it's all about sort of flicking this plane back and making sure that you see that the center line is continuous along here. So, just like so. Okay, next step. Fold the tip down to that same point again. Yeah, it's going to be very obvious what's going on here. Like you're just crushing up and up and up. You want a lot of weight at the tip of any plane you create. We've talked about this before in many of the videos, some of the text. So we're trying to put a lot of weight at the front of the plane. And once more, I'm just folding it down the fuselage just to remind it where it needs to be when the time comes. Another fold. So once again, you bring this top edge down to this horizontal fold you produced earlier. Once again, fold it over. Everything lines up perfectly. Squish, squish, solid. And you see what I said at the beginning about tucking in that rough edge inside? The rough edge is now completely tucked inside the plane. You can't even see it. So, last fold here, or down the existing fold, and you've got your plane shape, which is easy. And because you've been squishing all along, this next fold, which really creases up the paper, and like if you think about it, you've got multiple thicknesses of paper, this next fold here becomes much easier. So you just take this, fold it in half. Really nice and easy. Pretty familiar shape now. And what you want to do is just take these wings and fold them down. And again, what you can see here is, this fuselage bit here is slightly less than half the width of this. So if you look, halfway mark's about here. You want to fold maybe, I don't know, 7 millimeters, which is, I guess, about 1/4 of an inch away from the halfway mark. Just there. Fold it down, flip it over, make the wings match up, get them the fuselage flat, because if you don't, it'll spiral if the 2 wings are at a different level. And very simply, that right there is the second origami plane, which I'll show you how to fly now. In the instructions, I talk about flying this plane by throwing it vertically upwards in the air underhand and then seeing how it circles down. Now I'm indoors here, I'm in a room, so it's hard to show you that. But that's definitely the ideal way to fly this plane, is to throw it upwards like this in a big, ideally auditorium or outside, and then watch it swoop down in circles and glide and so on. It's actually pretty cool because the plane will rectify itself. It's worth trying that with a lot of different planes, because often they sort of, know which way up they want to fly, and they will subsequently fly that way if you throw them right. But for now, I'm just going to fly it overarm because it will settle to an overarm position and give you an indication of how it flies. So here's the plane. Flew off to the side off camera, unfortunately. Here's another one. Again, that one crashed. Let's get back this one. These planes are definitely designed to be flown outside. Let's try again. Too much lift. Finding it very hard to fly this plane so you guys can see it. Let's try one more time. You'll see it this way, whatever happens. There you go. I hope you saw that one well. Enjoy the video. Enjoy making planes. Hope you go and check out some of my other videos. I think all the other origami planes are worth trying out if you like this one. Nick's paper airplane is a really good one if you like this one too. Hope to see you soon at paperAirplanes.co.uk again. Thank you.